Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something absolutely crucial. And yeah, maybe a little bit outside the usual clinical comfort zone. We're building a powerful macro to micro leadership toolkit. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth does a doctor of nursing practice, or honestly any healthcare leader, need to get bogged down in business strategy and corporate finance? Well, here's the thing. Mastering these tools doesn't just make you a vastly more effective executive, it literally makes you a significantly smarter personal investor in your own day-to-day life.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the Nursing Leadership Toolkit. Next, fulfilling the strategic mission. Then, people, performance, and execution. After that, the time value of money. And finally, compounding, discounting, and annuities. Let's dive right in.
Section 1, the Nursing Leadership Toolkit, building the foundation. We're kicking things off right at the macro level. How does an organization actually figure out what it wants to achieve in the world? Well, the strategic mission fulfillment cycle is a great way to think about this. It's a process broken down into formulation, operationalizing, execution, and monitoring, all wrapped entirely around a SWOT analysis, evaluating organizational strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And what's really fascinating here is that this systematic, dynamic approach, it's remarkably similar to the nursing process you already know by heart. It's just this continuous loop of assessing your environment, planning your initiatives, executing those tactics, and then monitoring the outcomes. To actually pull off this massive framework, an organization first needs a vision. Now, a vision statement describes what a firm aspires to be and do. It's incredibly forward-looking, clearly stated, inspirational, and highly motivational. Think of it as the ultimate destination, right? It takes an organization from simply living its mission today to realizing its absolute grandest dreams for the future. In contrast to that, we have the mission statement, which really encompasses the broad purpose of the organization. It's the organizational what. So unlike the vision, which is always looking ahead to tomorrow, the mission is firmly rooted in the present. It's actionable, it's measurable, and it describes the daily accomplishments that drive organizational effectiveness and structural design day in and day out. Finally, we have values. If the vision is the where and the mission is the what, your values are the how. This is your behavioral compass. Values provide this really strict framework for evaluating decisions and actions. They're basically the core criteria you use for prioritizing, problem-solving, conflict resolution, and making commitments. And they absolutely must be openly stated and relentlessly modeled by leadership. Moving on to Section 2, fulfilling the strategic mission, tactical operationalizing. Okay, so how do we actually translate all those high-level beliefs into concrete action? We use budgets. And the crucial distinction to make here is between the two main types of budgets. Operating budgets cover the annual financial planning for your daily work functions. Capital budgets, on the other hand, handle the heavy lifting, those significant strategic investments. Generally speaking, a capital budget requires a financial outlay of $1,000 or more per item, though, that exact dollar threshold can vary a bit from place to place. Section 3, people, performance, and execution, aligning the workforce. A brilliant tactical plan and a massive capital budget are totally useless if you don't have aligned people to actually execute the strategy. Let's compare two approaches to this. The traditional approach leans entirely on annual reviews, basically just comparing past work results against observable strategic pillars. But then there's the deliberately developmental approach. This is an ongoing, two-way dialogue grounded in self-reflection that creates these constantly evolving, individualized elevation plans. And the source material highlights that this two-way dialogue leads to some pretty powerful stuff. Surprisingly higher employee engagement, a far more stable workforce, greater profitability, and perhaps most importantly for us, vastly better error detection. Section 4, the time value of money, evaluating the financials. So once our tactical budgets are set and our human capital is aligned and elevated, we get to the actual math. Because let's be real, as much as we love a highly engaged workforce, everyone still expects that paycheck to clear on Friday. Think about it like this. Today's dollar is absolutely not worth the same as tomorrow's dollar. It all depends on interest rates. If someone offered you $1,000 today or $1,100 in a year, which one do you take? Well, if your investment return rate is over 10%, you'd take the $1,000 today because you know you can grow it to more than $1,100 yourself. This brings us to two essential terms. Present value, or PV, is today's value, which we find through a process called discounting. Future value, or FV, is tomorrow's value, derived by compounding. Honestly, you don't need high school algebra to visualize this. Just mapping cash flows on a simple timeline makes it crystal clear. Imagine year zero. That's today. You've got a negative $10,000. That's money leaving your hands right now as a cash outflow because you're lending or investing it. But then, in return, at year 1 and year 2, you see positive $6,000 entries. Those are your cash inflows. It perfectly illustrates money leaving your hands today with the expectation of a much greater return over the next couple of years.
Section 5. Compounding, Discounting, and Annuities, the Mechanics of Wealth.
All right, let's explore the downright jaw-dropping math of how money actually grows. How in the world do we get to a number like $110.25? Well, if you deposit $100 today at a 5% simple interest rate, you just get a flat $5 every year. Simple enough. But compounding interest is a whole different ballgame. Compounding means you actually earn interest on your interest. So your original 100 becomes $105 after year 1. But here's the magic. In year 2, you earn 5%, not on the original 100, but on the new $105 balance. That's what gives you $110.25 by year 2. It's exactly like the source material says. Money makes more money. Now, when you start stacking those regular payments, you enter the realm of annuities. An annuity is just a constant stream of equal income or payments occurring at regular intervals. So, whether you're depositing $5,000 every single year into a retirement account, or you're making the exact same monthly mortgage payment for 30 years straight, you are actively interacting with an ordinary annuity. And this concept brilliantly illustrates why credit card debt is just so incredibly dangerous. The compounding periods completely dictate how fast that money grows. Compounding can happen annually, semi-annually, monthly, or even daily. Credit card interest isn't compounded once a year. It is compounded 365 times a year. So a seemingly small balance just balloons out of control because every single day, interest is being calculated on top of the previous day's interest. Basically, it means you're paying massively more than you probably realize. Which brings us full circle to a phenomenal quote from our sources. You can apply this not only in your practice, but also in the future in your daily life. Understanding the timeline of cash flow and the sheer unstoppable power of compound interest totally demystifies business finance. Honestly, mastering this stuff makes you both a sharper, more strategic executive in the boardroom and a way savvier investor in your own personal life. So how will you apply this macro to micro leadership toolkit to transform your organization and your financial future? I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought for today's explainer. Don't just manage the present. Step out of your comfort zone, master these frameworks, and start building your future value today.